Disney Lorcana and Ravensburger are aiming to add value to the mainstay and steady flowing trading card game. And in my opinion, they're doing a lot of things great here. In fact, if Lorcana boxes can stay a fair price and people opening packs can have easier access to playable cards as well as chase down more expensive collectibles, I am all in, baby. But I do think that they made some mistakes. Let's go over some of the changes they are making, how it's going to affect you and I as consumers and fans of Lorcana, and, well, what I would have done differently. So with Reign of Jafar coming, the 8th set of Disney Lorcana, it was time to shake things up. And Ravensburger is doing this by changing the rarities, the different cards that you can pull from the booster box. And I think this is a massive shift for the collector side of the game as well as the player base. I'm going to go over both those things today, but if you like conversations like this, make sure you hit the sub button down below because it helps a small channel like mine more than you can possibly imagine. But these changes are something I have kind of advocated for some time. It was not on my radar that Disney Lorcana come out and be a game completely driven by players. That's not to say that that's a bad thing, but I thought there would be a fair split of players and collectors. Not quite as many or as high of a percentage of players as Magic, but probably higher than Pokemon, somewhere in between. And the collectors would follow as, well, these cards feature iconic Disney characters in famous scenes, and they speak to more than just people like you and I, trading card game fans. They speak to, things like my daughter, my wife, and other people around the worldly Disney ecosystem. But there was always something missing with collectability, with the Enchanteds being the hardcore chase and them being, so few and far between. It felt like the casual collector, the person that wanted to just get involved and collect kind of for fun, which is a more important, measurable, more important sector of the collectible community than you would think, was had really nowhere to call home, was missing out on a bit of that juice. And because of this, I had been advocating for changes to rarities, and it seems to have come to fruition. Well, with Reign of Jafar coming out, we are getting two brand new rarities. And the first rarity is a card that, let's call, more rare than legendary, but not quite as rare as Enchanted. In fact, it's deemed more rare than legendary, not quite as rare as Enchanted. We don't know pull rates yet. This is all rumors, hearsay, and leaks online, but it is the epic treatment. This card represents a legendary card, but in a frame break, a borderless fashion where you're able to see more of the card art. It comes in a beautiful foil, and it is going to offer a chase of some of Lorcana's rarest and most powerful cards in a new version. Now, this is important for a couple reasons. First and foremost, it gives those collectors we just talked about something to hunt down, and something to hunt down that theoretically, if it's more rare than legendary but less rare than your Enchanteds, comes more than one every case, which your casual observer, your regular fans aren't really going to engage in buying a sealed case at a time that's more rare than we probably all think here on this YouTube channel. That's going to create a level of accessibility to collecting, to getting bling, to finding fun things that wasn't otherwise there. And I am all for people collecting card games in this way. Heck, I've been on record before of saying that you don't have to chase down the most expensive things to collect trading card games. The more ways there are to tackle the collectability of a trading card game, the better. And this eats into that, otherwise small slice of pie and maybe creates a new division of collectors because you feel like, hey, you actually have a chance to pull some of this stuff. Furthermore, it does help the player base. In my opinion, if there are more expensive versions of these legendaries out, it has the opportunity to drive the price of legendaries down. Now, that doesn't mean that all legendaries will suddenly be cheap. In my opinion, that's just not going to happen. When you have a game like Lorcana that has become a player's first ecosystem, well, the good cards are going to be more expensive and the not so good cards are going to be less so. I think we will continue to see that, but I'm hopeful that having that additional version, having maybe some more people get involved in the chase, open more packs, dig into more product, brings the price of some of these other cards for playable decks down. And while yes, that is a great thing for players, we have to remember the value of a box does matter. Whether you believe it, whether I believe it, whether you like it or not, the community, when they open packs, like to feel a value add. They like to feel that they're getting something for their money. It is a trading card game. The cards are assigned a value, and whether or not you believe they should be, that is how the world works. And in this same vein, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this value, with this additional rarity printed, these epic cards. Are we going to see the value of the Lorcana product go down because there's more open from a singles perspective, or are we going to see the value go up because we value the chase and collectability more than we had previously? Let me know your thoughts of that in the comment section below, because while it's going to affect those sectors differently, I overall do think this could be a positive change for Lorcana in the long run. But that's not the only change. There's one more massive change that I probably aggressively disagree with, and I'm sure all of you out there are going to disagree with me, because hey, that's what comment sections are for, and I hear each and every one of you whenever I give any kind of take like this. But here we are on the YouTube channel, and I'm gonna do it anyway. They have created, theoretically, according to rumors, a card more rare than the Enchanted. That's right, we have iconic cards. I am not showing any of these screenshots here, any of these images, because it is a leak, and to be a bit respectful, I guess, of the the IP of the leak, of the process, and frankly, they're not very good images anyway. They're not very high quality, so I don't think it adds much. But know that there's a card that is theoretically more chase than the Enchanted. It is called the Iconic card. It comes with a different foiling process that we have not yet seen. I believe it's called like the Lorcana symbol, or the what's it called? Custom Lore Star foil pattern. I have it right over here on a second monitor, the Lore Star foil pattern. Good Lord, let that be a beautiful pattern and not something crazy and crowded covered in lore stars. I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole. But this chase variant being more rare than the Enchanted is something that I disagree with. I loved the fact that the Enchanted is out there as a card that players and fans and collectors can chase down. Heck, I have been on record saying I think the Enchanted should not only undervalued, but underrepresented as grading targets, as PSA submissions, as things that will live in a vault and be collectible to not only Lorcana players, but Disney fans as a whole as the game continues to grow. But I did say, and I do believe, that the Enchanted represents the hardest rarity to pull, and it should remain so, for a couple reasons. First and foremost, we have been going on this track for some time, and you probably have some ingrained collectors, and while there might not be many, they are going to be passionate. By creating a card that is more legendary, more hard to get, more chase than their Enchanteds, well, you kind of invalidate that chase to a small degree up to this point. And I'm not saying that it's a exact facsimile, but we've seen this in games like the indie trading card game Flesh and Blood, when they lauded their cold foils in their first edition print runs as the collector's, paradise, and the things that if you're a collector, you got to get your hands on. And then the game's creator turned around and printed gold foil cards of the same iconic cards that were fewer and farther between and harder to get their hands on, and thus kind of invalidated the whole, hey, you were around from the beginning, you have some cold foils, these are the chase, because now there's a more chase, a bigger variant, and it wasn't received well. There could be an aspect of that here if they do happen to print some of the same cards, but I think that feeling of there's something more chase, more rare that comes out of the booster box than my Enchanted cards that I've been collecting for some time is not necessarily feels great. Also, I think that the Enchanted represented a wonderful way to pull in the hardest of core collectors. Having a card that is theoretically, and again, it's not exact, this is not an exact science, but theoretically one in a case is a beautiful way to, get people into your hardcore collecting ecosystem, get people interested in buying the product, get your collectors interested in saying, hey, if I get this, if I buy this, if I pull this, it's meaningful because it is so rare. But I don't think you should have gone any rarer than that. We see this a lot with Pokemon cards and Pokemon boxes, because Pokemon has such an ingrained and rabid fan base. They get away with this more than I think they should, but it does create an ecosystem where often your boxes are open for little to no value. And Lorcana offsets a bit of that because they have a larger share of the pie that does represent players, and good playable cards maintain some of that value and carry some of that weight, but I don't think you should have gone above and beyond that. Heck, hardcore Disney fans have more of a chase. We're talking about the sealed box, closed box, box opening ecosystem right now, but if you're a hardcore fan, you could have gone for things like D23 promos, top 8 prize pools, Gen Con exclusives, and things of that nature. Invalidating the Enchanted, as well as creating something that is harder to pull than the Enchanted, doesn't address, in my opinion, the sector of collectors that's currently missing. It does placate and satiate the hardest of core collectors and give them something more to open the box, and yeah, give this wonderful potential lottery ticket in the Lorcana product, but it doesn't bring more collectors into the space. It doesn't bring your more casual player to become a collector with something in between what would be the new announced Epic and the existing Enchanted, where you have the Enchanted capping off the hardest of the hardest to pull, and the Epic and this new thing kind of filling in that extremely wide gap. Remember, something that comes one in a box versus one in a case is a 4 times gap on a $125 box, and well, that can get a bit spicy. In my opinion, I think this is a good idea to address. It's something Ravensburger needed to address and something they needed to talk about, but in my opinion, they went the wrong direction. I don't think you needed to go harder core than Enchanted. I do think, however, this is going to add some value, especially the epics, to the Lorcana box and hopefully help maintain that price over the long run. As we saw Arceza's Island, the Dog Island. I cannot pronounce that name. Give me a break in my comments section. I do believe that we've seen this product begin to stabilize. These good sets are doing well. Poor sets are still going to struggle, but hopefully some collectability can drag some of these things along and help fill the pie, fill the ecosystem of Lorcana fans from player to collector and everything in between. Let me know what you think of the thoughts on this video in the comment section below, and as always, the like button is down there if you liked this conversation. Even if you disagree with it, you just like having the conversation, click that like button down below, the sub button, because they, like I said, they help my channel more than you can possibly imagine. Big shout out to all the channel members that support here for $5 a month. They help make everything go, and thank you so much to each and every one of you. Until next time, you all know me. My name is Josh, and we'll see you around. Okay, goodbye.